Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Star Trek podcast. We're a little late tonight. Well, I mean,
I was on time.
Were you though?
No, you're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah, don't be sorry. Just be better.
Can we do that again? I fucked that joke up.
No. No, you stick with it. You live with it.
No.
If you wanted to try it over again, you should have gotten here earlier. But at least you showed up.
Yeah.
Hashtag Brad.
We did try to, I guess, make some of these jokes happen, and you know, sometimes it works out great, sometimes it doesn't.
It does. But hey, that's just life. Because life hits us, and the older we get, not only does life hit us, it just knocks us down and kicks us repeatedly until we say, "I quit."
What's that quote from Ferris Bueller? If you don't slow down, you might drive your Ferrari through a glass garage.
I think that was it.
Oh, okay.
I think you nailed it.
Yeah,
I think you nailed it.
Reasonably confident that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I mean, this is a Star Trek podcast, not a Ferris Bueller podcast, so we're fine.
Yeah.
It's not like Matthew Broderick's going to come in here and just start, raging. Yeah, no, we're good. He's not here.
Oh, thank God.
But I feel like I could, if I had a chance, I feel like I could beat up Matthew Broderick.
I mean, why?
So you don't ever do this? You don't ever kind of look at a celebrity and like, oh, I could beat that celebrity up. Like I was watching Dune and it was like Timothée Chalamet. I'm like, oh, I could mess up Timothée Chalamet, like Dave Bautista. I'm like, I don't want no parts of Dave Bautista.
I don't do that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I wonder if that's a problem with me.
Might be.
Wow, we are so far off course. We'll probably have to circle back to that when I'm in therapy.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about your toxic feelings, off air, just let me know. We can.
I don't think it's toxic. I think that it's because I'm a father and a husband. I have to be able to protect my family, right? So part of protecting your family is being able to size up potential threats. Ocular pat down.
Okay.
Like, hey, pause. I got you. Man, we are far off base right now. Let's try this. Hey everyone, welcome back to yet another Star Trek podcast. I'm one of your hosts of three, Majid. Brad couldn't make it because it's a different time zone wherever he is in Atlanta. But I am joined by my lovely co-host, Drew. Drew, how are you, buddy?
Oh, I'm lovely.
You are.
I spent. All right, so we only record on days that I'm off, and lately every day that I'm off, I'm doing something in the yard or in the garden, right? Mm-hmm. So today was no different. I spent 90 minutes trying to tie a knot.
There's a YouTube video for that somewhere.
Oh, I'm aware. I watched them all. Still couldn't get it done. And I sent my poor wife like this scathing text message about how I'm sick and tired of the effing garden and the effing rope and the effing tomato posts and the effing Florida weave and F this and F that. I'm going to rip the garden out and F and yeah.
God, I wish you had security cameras in your backyard. I want to see you rage out.
I've wasted so much string trying to make a freaking knot. It's like impossible. And it's really infuriating too, because I was going to put in some serious work on the patio today. And instead, all I did was fix two of the stones that were messed up and swap out a third one. So basically I broke even in that project today. That's
fair. I mean, at least you tried. Just to throw a little salt on the fire though. I had to tie a knot for the screen that I put up for my wife.
Yeah.
And I did it in like 5 minutes myself.
What kind of knot did you use there, Boy Scout of America?
A stable one.
What's that called? A stable?
Yeah, a stable knot. Like it's not going anywhere. It's stable.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you'll have to show me that, because the slip knot and the hitch knot and the other three knots that I tried, like I'm just not good with like doing things like that with my hands, right? Like at my new role at work, I have to use like tools, and I'm not good at that. Like I never have been. Growing up, I was always messing around with the computers. I was not like building stuff. So when it comes time for me to be a man and do something that requires the use of my hands and tools, I'm an utter failure.
You play
It's
video games sometimes for a living.
it's emasculating, man. I feel very emasculated today.
Yeah, I never understood that about you. Like, you could unwrap a starburst with your tongue, but you can't do it with your hands. It's the wildest thing for me.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, well, I got nothing.
Also, I'm sure one of those knots is like a hardcore heavy metal band. Slipknot, you were saying? Yeah, Slipknot's
Yes,
a
but
band.
they were rope before they were metal. That's all I got. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. I'm good. I did some low voltage electricity playing with wire stuff outside before
Yeah.
I had dinner and we recorded. And I'm excited because I did the I did the suburban dad thing and I hired someone to cut my grass so I have more time now to do other projects.
Mhm.
I don't know if we've ever talked about this, but I've been wanting to actually use my motorcycle for the past 4 years.
I keep
I
forgetting you
haven't been
have
able
one.
to.
Keep forgetting you have
I
one.
keep I keep forgetting I have one.
Yeah.
You know who doesn't forget?
Hmm.
Progressive Insurance. You know who else doesn't forget?
The state of
State of
Connecticut.
Connecticut. They're taxing me, and my wife are like, "Oh, you got to charge for the Honda." What? Oh, I have a motorcycle,
Yeah.
which is basically like it's covered and it, I don't know. I rode the bike around the neighborhood a couple weeks ago, and it's great. It's a great feeling. But I when I pull back into my driveway, I'm like, oh my god, there's still so much for me to do.
Mm.
So I made the decision to hire someone. Brothers, no, Antonio's Landscaping.
Mm.
Two guys come out and they cut the grass. Listen, they did it in 45 minutes. Just these two guys cutting the grass for 45 minutes. They did the front, back, and side, and they used the weed whacker.
How much did that cost you?
65 per visit.
That's so we've considered hiring out for that. We have a third of an acre, so it takes us like an hour just to mow the lawn.
Yeah.
And it's very time consuming, but I have a hard time rationalizing paying somebody that much money to do it. Like, I don't know.
Mental health and the work-life balance. Because what I was doing, buddy, I was coming out on my lunch break, cutting the grass and finishing it after work, and that is not healthy.
Yeah, but also you work from home, so like you have the ability to do that, which I'm not saying it's good or bad, but it's nice to have the choice.
I don't know if I appreciate your tone when you said that I work from home.
I mean, when was the last time you drove into the office?
This is my office. And I drive here every single day from the gym.
I spent 3 hours in traffic yesterday.
Is that a humble brag?
Oh no. Oh no.
Yeah.
Look, we've both made our bed and now we have to lie in it.
Yeah. Hey, you can't get time back. But you can watch Star Trek. I don't know. I didn't have a good segue for that.
I will say that it is not recommended to watch Star Trek while you're in traffic.
It's also not recommended to eat cereal while driving, but some people still do it.
I mean, what else are you gonna do? You got to seize the gap. You got to eat some cereal, man.
I listen to a lot of podcasts and
I do too.
audiobooks.
Yeah.
But hey, we watched an episode of Star Trek, and by the way, I didn't watch it immediately before recording. I watched it 3 hours ago.
On your lunch break?
I did. While I put together my spotlights for outside, I actually watched the episode. So, not bad.
That's pretty good. Did you fall
Not
asleep
bad.
during it?
I listen. I won't bury the lead, but I did not fall asleep. I was actually engaged, and I put down whatever I was doing. I was fully immersed in this episode. But we'll get into that. I promise. But why don't we take it away with the synopsis first, huh?
Sounds like a plan to me, my man.
All right. Thanks, Brad.
You
No,
got
you're Drew. Brad's somewhere else.
Where in the world is Brad? All right, so we are going to be looking at what is this, season 2, episode 9? I think it is.
Yeah.
Metamorphosis.
I think it was supposed to be released as episode 2, but they pushed it all the way back.
Well, a lot of times the air order and like those early episodes of Star Trek are kind of all over the place, right? Because they produce them in different orders that they release them in. Let me see if I can bring up which one this is. Metamorphosis. No, I'm looking for the episode. There we are. Yeah, so this was, I guess, the second episode produced, but it didn't air in that order. And Memory Alpha is very weird with some of the information about these, because the original air date wasn't until November. Right, so it was quite a few weeks afterwards, but I don't know. They're all over the place. You just have to kind of go with it, I guess.
That's fair.
But we're following the order that Paramount Plus uses. So there you go. Anyway, let's talk about Metamorphosis, shall we?
Let us.
Captain Kirk, Spock, and Dr. McCoy find themselves stranded on a small but conveniently breathable planet after their shuttlecraft, the Galileo, is hijacked by a mysterious energy cloud. Hey, wasn't the Galileo destroyed?
I mean, the Enterprise was destroyed a couple of times, too.
Not yet.
That's fair. Is that a spoiler alert?
Just a sign of things to come. Anyway. The Galileo is hijacked by a mysterious energy cloud. As if that weren't strange enough, their technology is as useless as a chocolate teapot. Enter a man who looks like he's walked straight out of a history book. Cochrane, a name that rings a bell for everyone but the poor Commissioner Hedford, who's too busy developing a fever. Cochrane casually drops the bomb that he's none other than the Zephram Cochrane, the inventor of warp drive, kept youthful by his bizarre companion, a floating space cloud with a soft spot for humans. Oh, wait, they weren't eating the humans. Okay. Anyway, Kirk, Spock, and McCoy explore Cochrane's cozy setup, complete with some quaintly outdated instruments. It's just like stepping in your grandparents' attic. As Hedford's fever worsens, Kirk digs for answers about the companion. Cochrane reveals that his alien cloud not only kidnapped them, but has been his personal fountain of youth. The companion's got serious attachment issues, having kept Cochrane company for over a century. Hedford is now raving mad and ends up getting sedated by Bones and tucked into Cochrane's bed, leaving the men to puzzle over their cloud conundrum. What's your thoughts on this so far?
So immediately I thought that Cochrane was the energy cloud made human, you know, putting on a facade.
Sure.
And, you know, again, it engaged me from the very second that the episode started. No, from the very second they got onto the planet and Cochrane makes himself known. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So we have a bit of a mystery here.
Right.
A bit of a misdirect.
Right.
But
and you had a ticking clock too.
Hook. What was that?
You have a ticking clock too. Right.
I love my ticking clocks. You know that.
Because Hedford's got this disease that if she doesn't get back to the Enterprise in time, it's going to kill her. And so now not only are you stuck on this planet with a mystery, but you have a ticking clock because otherwise Hedford's going to die.
Yeah.
Anyway, Spock gets to work on trying to fix the Galileo only to be electrocuted by the companion, which seems to be a fan of Keep Away. Cochrane, after some coaxing, agrees to summon the companion to see if it can help Hedford. Instead of assistance, they observe a disturbingly intimate interaction between Cochrane and the cloud. It leaves McCoy and Kirk theorizing that the companion is in love. Spock crafts an electric disruption device to short-circuit the cloud, but it only irritates the companion, who retaliates by nearly strangling Kirk and Spock until McCoy shouts, pull it back to its senses. Oh, man. McCoy certainly has a way of yelling at things and making them stop.
The worst kind of doctor.
He really is. You know. McCoy convinces Kirk to start thinking like a diplomat instead of like a soldier, and this leads to the idea of communicating with the companion using the universal translator. Meanwhile, the Enterprise, under Scotty's command, searches tirelessly for the missing crew. A newly modified translator reveals that the companion has a female-sounding voice, hinting at an even weirder twist. It's not just an energy cloud, but it's an energy cloud with a crush on Cochrane. Despite Kirk's pleas, the companion refuses to let them leave, prioritizing Cochrane's well-being over the humans' desire to escape. Cochrane is surprised by the revelation that his cloud buddy has romantic feelings for him. While the crew struggles to understand his reaction, Commissioner Hedford regains clarity just long enough to lament her life. Companion, showing is not totally heartless, merges with Hedford's dying body, saving her life and providing a more human-like presence. This act of sacrifice convinces the companion/Hedford hybrid to let the crew go, leaving Cochrane with a new flesh-and-blood companion. They part ways, with Cochrane choosing to stay behind with the new Hedford companion to explore this unexpected turn in his long, strange trip. Sum up the episode. Creepy clouds can feel love, fevers make women hysterical, and Zephram Cochrane took one hell of a magic carpet ride.
Yeah, what a very bittersweet ending that episode was.
Yeah,
bittersweet and frustrating.
Well, I kind of wanted to talk about the character of Hedford a little bit, right? Because I feel like she was very much a 1960s idea of a stereotypical woman.
Okay, tell me more.
Like it kind of bothered me watching this play out, because like when the shuttle is getting drawn by the cloud to the planet, you know, she's insisting that they stop it from happening, and Kirk has to tell her more than once that he has no control over it. Bones says to him, like, we need to get her back, and he says, I can't do anything about it, I have no control. And then immediately she's like, you better get us back. And he's like, I just said it, like, I can't do anything about it. So I feel like they were kind of like writing her to ignore him or just be choosy with what she wanted to hear. And then as she started having this fever, like she started becoming hysterical, like in the throes of agony, you know, crying. And I just wasn't a fan of that.
That's fair. I hated Space Karen at first.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, she's gonna be this way the entire trip. And you know, when she was on her deathbed, I'm like, oh, I kind of like the character a little more now.
But I mean, like I don't know. I feel like that maybe says something. Like she was literally dying before you cared about her.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Way to call me out.
I'm sorry.
I hated her. I hated the character. I'm like, oh my god, this woman's gonna call Kirk supervisor.
I mean, it kind of felt that way, right? Like she's like insisting that he do something that he has no power or ability to do.
Yeah.
You know, and it wouldn't have been so bad if it was like if McCoy wasn't that buffer on the shuttle that whole time. But like he was like, they're in the same room, right? Like she could see. It's not like she was in like some compartment or some office or quarters somewhere else on the shuttle. She's literally sitting next to the captain and Spock, watching them do everything in their power to try to stop this from happening. And she's insistent that they stop it from happening. And it's like, lady, are you paying attention? Like, read the room, you know?
Right. Here, take this drug. It'll make you feel better.
Right.
Hi there! If you think there's room for yet another Star Trek podcast on the internet, have we got a show for you? I'm Chris.
And I'm Dan.
And we're the hosts of the Stone Age Gamer podcast, the official podcast of StoneAgeGamer.com, which is, you guessed it, yet another video game podcast.
Every Friday, Chris and I spend a few hours talking about the world of video games from a retro gamer's perspective. We cover everything from the latest news, older games we missed out on, even non-video game related stuff like lawn care and cooking and child rearing and whatever other nonsense is going on in our lives.
I love rearing children. Tune in every week for recurring segments like the SAG Cartoon Express, where we talk about old video game related cartoons and how great they are. The 10, 20, 30, 40, where we discuss notable game releases from 10, 20, 30, and 40 years ago, quarterly-ish trivia episodes, interviews with people who are usually way cooler than me, but not cooler than Dan, and more.
So if you like Star Trek, and really, if you like Star Trek half as much as I do, and want to listen to two guys ramble on about video games, well, you should check out the Stone Age Gamer podcast, which is part of the Geekade Podcast Network.
And as always, keep playing games.
So ultimately, female Melllvar companion, she takes over Hedford's body.
Right.
Hedford was gonna die if companion hadn't done that.
Right. And now she's forced to love this guy, but she can live.
Now she's forced to love this guy. She's in that body, but at the same time, and Cochrane. What a jerkweed.
Yeah.
He's like, no. Oh, you're a female energy cloud? Oh, no, I'm not want to do anything with this. Oh, now you're in a beautiful female's body?
Ooh, God.
Rock with this. Yeah, I can rock with this. He was a bit of a horn dog when the episode started. The moment he saw Hedford, he was just like, oof.
Yeah.
Starving man gets to eat.
Yeah.
Which is a super creepy thing to say.
Oh man,
to women.
Wasn't that?
But I mean, to be fair, I think that was Brad's first opening line to his wife. It's the moment he saw her.
Wow.
He's not here to to deny it, so
yeah,
it's out there. It's fact now.
He can't defend himself.
Yeah. Can we talk about how much I love Kirk in this episode?
Yes.
Just him outwitting, not even outwitting. It wasn't a wit. It wasn't military might. It was him appealing diplomatically to someone's emotions and humanity.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not humanity, right? It was a energy cloud. But
right. But I get what you're saying.
Right. Him appealing to the heart of the matter.
Right.
Him using logic. Him basically doing and ignoring what Spock and McCoy were saying, you know, because I think Spock wanted to try a different method, and Kirk's like, "I will smack you across the room if you tell me to do something again."
Right.
And Kirk just kept on with with his course of action, and it was the right thing to do.
Well, I mean, McCoy ultimately encouraged him to kind of take a more diplomatic approach, though, right? You know,
he did. He said, "Hey, you're thinking like a military man."
Right.
And was it really diplomatic, or was it appealing to the emotion? Because being a diplomat, you're not appealing to one's emotions, you're appealing to logic.
Not necessarily. I mean, look, I have a PhD in diplomacy, and you know, one of the things they teach you in diplomacy is if there's something you want bad enough, you just have to appeal to the other person's desires.
I think P. Diddy said that too, but you know, didn't work out so well for him.
No, I guess not.
Yeah. Ultimately, though, Kirk did fail, I think. Well, had he appealed first to the emotions, Hedburn wouldn't have died.
Yeah, I mean, the desired result obviously was to get her back to the Enterprise so that she could be healed up and then get back to being an ambassador trying to stop a war. And in that respect, yeah, he failed. Oh, and then the flippant comment at the end where there's like, oh, we'll just find another woman to go be the diplomat.
Yeah, that was really 60s of him
Yeah.
to say that. That was that's what I'm saying. It's a bittersweet and frustrating end. So I was expecting, at first I was expecting that they blew up the cloud.
Right.
They, filled it up like too much balloon or whatever they do science terms to defeat the energy cloud. And then I said, okay, well, now that this energy cloud is inside of Hedford or Hedward?
Hedford. Hedford.
So now that the energy cloud's inside of Hedford, Cochrane is going to show her a bit of humanity in the galaxy. And then he just stays there.
Yeah.
I said that was frustrating.
Yeah.
That was the frustrating part for me. And it would have been, I think, a very poignant ending, a very sweet ending and very loving ending had he taken Companion with him and explored the galaxies.
Right.
Regardless of how much time they had. Because it made it seem like the moment she leaves, she has still a limited amount of time, but they never really insinuate how much.
Right.
Or even if she goes back after a while, will she get that extra time?
Right.
Kind of like when you play freeze tag and you go back to base.
Right.
But I think that would have been a very bittersweet ending because that's all Cochrane wanted to do was just explore.
Right.
And now he's stuck on a planet. It's like this is gonna backfire at me, but I'm gonna power through.
Oh boy.
It's like the high school player getting the cheerleader pregnant when he's about to go off to college. And he has his whole life laid out for him, and now he's stuck in his hometown.
Wow.
Being a used car dealership salesman.
That's a very specific situation.
Please don't cancel me. Please don't cancel me.
So this is the first time we've seen Cochrane officially named in Star Trek. Are you familiar with the character?
I am familiar with the character played by the famous actor whose name escapes me, but he was in First Contact.
Yes.
And he was in Lower Decks.
Oh yeah, that's right. He was in Lower Decks. He had a brief appearance there. James Cromwell is the name.
Cromwell
is the name we're looking for. So in my head canon, James Cromwell is Zephram Cochrane.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Sure.
So this is like breaking my brain.
Uh-huh.
Because he doesn't act like the same character. And I know, like, obviously it's a different take on it. And, this guy's been stuck there for 150 years and he's been made younger and blah, blah. But the Zephram Cochrane that I know and love is basically a drunk cowboy. He's unsure of himself, but he's riding off into the distance and, being awesome. Right. And this is a very different take,
So, I mean, I think that in terms of canon, we can always explain things away with canon in terms of time.
Right.
So we're talking about him being stuck on this planet for 150 years.
Right.
By the time he even got to the planet, he was 80 something.
Right.
So let's kind of map this out. How old was Cochrane in First Contact, would you say, approximately?
That's a good question. According to Memory Alpha, he was born sometime in the 1930s. I'm sorry, the 2030s. And boy, it got a little dark there, buddy. What happened? Did the battery run out on your light? For the audio listeners, Majid is rolling away from his desk. And I don't know what he's doing because I can't see. This is fascinating. I think he broke his light. He's got this brand new light. I'm pretty sure he broke it. Relatively sure. Oh, wait, hey, the lights are back on. Look at that. Now he's wheeling back in like nothing ever happened. So how's it going?
I guess there's a timer on the light. Which is something that it would have been nice that someone would have told me.
I mean, I wouldn't have known. You doing all right there? Now you're trying to get the microphone set back up again?
There's no way for us to cut any of this out, is there?
Of course there is.
You're not going to do it, are you?
Of course I'm not.
I was trying to use a box to hold up my microphone. I had it right before. Okay.
Oh my god, this is delightful. I'm just watching you do the same thing over and over and over again.
That's the definition of insanity. All right, we're good now. We're good. Lights, microphone. Take it away, Drew.
All right, so Cochrane was born sometime in the 2030s. The events of First Contact happened at around 2063, which would put James Cromwell at a very elderly-looking 33 years old.
Yeah, it was. All right, so 33 years old.
Yeah.
So there was 50 years between the ending of let's say there was about 50 years between the ending of First Contact and him leaving to get stranded on that planet. That's 50 years. And then another 150 years on that planet by himself. So that's 200 years for him to mature.
Right.
That time, that's what, 4 lifetimes?
Yeah.
That you are a different person.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
Like I'm not disputing that.
So doesn't that affect your canon in some way, shape, or form?
Not really.
No, Majid. Logic does not affect my canon. How dare you ask?
Well, it's just that the portrayal. So I mean, like you have to keep in mind that the name Zephram Cochrane was thrown around a lot in the Next Generation, right?
Okay.
Geordie LaForge, being the chief engineer of the ship, would constantly refer to Cochrane and the warp field and the warp design and all this stuff. And in First Contact, like he's basically meeting like his hero, right? So you've got 7 seasons of this name being thrown around as like this historic textbook person. And then in First Contact, he ends up being a drunk, right? Who is brilliant, but very unsure of himself. And quite frankly, is not a hero, right? He becomes a hero, but he's not when they first meet him.
Okay.
So that is kind of like how my point of reference for the character has just been for literally 30 years, right? And I'd never seen this episode before. This is the first time I've seen this one. So it just kind of breaks my brain. Like you have a mental image of something and then you're shown something different and like you have to rationalize that, right?
Sure. I think for me, it's looking a little bit differently because I was exposed to the James Cromwell version twice over. Years ago when First Contacts came out. So I knew him as the bandana loving drunk.
Right.
And then I knew him again in Lower Decks.
Right.
As the hologram drunk.
Right.
And now understanding how, not time travel, but understanding how the amount of time works, I'm okay with this. But for you, I think you're coming around as like really a full circle.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's you're hitting it. It's like, I don't know. I guess it's kind of like watching like videos of like family members that you've only known to be older, and then you get to see them when they were younger.
Sure.
I don't know, but
sure. Like if I had, I guess like maybe a good example, and I'm gonna get canceled with this again.
Oh boy.
So stick with me. That's like if I in my 20s had an OnlyFans, and I was really famous on it. And then I retired. But then my daughter finds out that her father had an OnlyFans, and then it kind of breaks her brain about her perception of her father.
Okay. Sure. I'll allow it.
But in actuality, I would never show my face. It would just be my feet.
I know.
It's like, I know. I'm your number one subscriber.
I'm your only subscriber.
Yeah. Only fan. only fan. Oh, goodness. This is this would have been the perfect love story though, buddy, if it had ended in tragedy. No, let me rephrase that. This would have been a perfect love story if they rode off into the sunset together, Cochrane and companion.
If they found a way to like get them off of that planet, you mean?
There was a way to get him off the planet. There was, except that companion didn't want to take that risk. She just said, "Oh, I'm gonna die." Well, Cochrane says, "You're gonna die there anyway." You know,
Right.
it's just a matter of time. So now, again, like the high school football player that has thrown his life away for the prom queen, now has to just be stuck there.
Right.
You know, he could have continued exploring the galaxy. So if he's locked in at what, let's say 40 as his age.
Yeah.
They don't actually say, they just say, you know, he's perpetually young. He has probably another, I guess in this time frame, another 60 years.
I would
I'm not
guess.
sure how people.
I mean, there's
Okay.
there's evidence of people in the original series being upwards of 100.
There you go.
By Next Generation, 150.
Sure. So he has, let's say at minimum, 60 years. That's 60 years he'd be exploring planets. And like Kirk said, a lot has changed. A lot has changed. You know, he could have been doing the thing that he loved to do.
Right.
But he's stuck. And
Yeah.
I think that takes away from my final thoughts and ultimately my final score for the episode, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about Spock and Bones' role in this entire thing?
Spock was a punching bag.
Yeah, he kind of got beat up a
Spock-
lot.
Yeah, he got beat up a lot in the episode. I think the episode would have worked without him. You take Spock out of the episode, nothing changes.
You do need
You
McCoy,
keep
though.
Bones. You need McCoy.
Yeah.
You need McCoy. So you take Spock out of the episode, nothing changes. You keep Bones in because Bones is ultimately the one that is giving Kirk the idea to be diplomatic. But actually, Spock is needed, just barely. The translator. The translator was ultimately the MacGuffin, right?
Right.
Am I using the word right? It was
I don't know.
ultimately the tool to. It was ultimately the tool to aid in I don't want to say defeating, but
Yeah.
it was the key to the whole episode. And by the way, this is I guess the earliest episode to feature the translator.
By name,
Okay.
I think it's implied that there's something else, you know, because like they've encountered the Klingons, they've encountered the Romulans, and how many other dozens of species at this point? And I think it's logical to assume that they're all speaking English, right? So while we've never had anything explicitly say, to my knowledge, that there's a universal translator functioning, it's well established in Star Trek lore of modern times that the universal translator is basically running 24/7.
Okay. Yeah, kind of like in Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's implied that, not implied, it's actually shown that Star-Lord had an implant,
Right.
a translator implant implanted when it did the scan. But I don't know. This is the first time for me we've actually seen a translator.
Right. So it ultimately ends up becoming something that's just unspoken until it becomes a convenient plot point. You never actually see one in the Next Generation forward. Like, it's implied that it's built into the communicator, or it's built into the ship systems, and it's actively doing that. But there's a lot of just magic that, you know, you suspend your disbelief, right? And
Do that
just-
again?
Magic.
Oh, I love that.
It actually just becomes a situation where, you know, the less you think about it, the easier it is to accept it, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, well, these communicators are not like audibly speaking for them, right? So do they have an earpiece? Do they have an implant? It's never made clear. So
Yeah.
don't think about it
So-
and it'll be fine.
Yeah, just like you don't think about like, oh man, these guys have been stuck on the planet for the entire time. We didn't see one of them go to the bathroom. Yeah, okay.
Case in point.
So this episode touches on a lot. This episode touches on mortality, love, loneliness, and ultimately the fear of the unknown.
Right.
So to me, it's a very unique episode in all of any episode of Star Trek I've seen. But for you, do you think that this episode holds up like with those themes today?
Yeah, I mean, if I look past the Zephram Cochrane logic breakingness of it and just try to consider him like just a character, I mean, I think they could tell the same story if they just put, you know, some modern sensibilities to it.
Yeah.
You know, you have somebody who has never loved, who is going to die essentially alone, given an opportunity to try to, you know, experience that. Although it is a little weird that they just assume that she's going to fall in love with him. Like, oh, you're here now. Right? Like, that's a little weird. But anyway.
Yeah.
The idea of companionship, I think, is something that everybody can identify with, right? You know, we all seek to some degree companionship, whether it's with family, whether it's a loving relationship, animals, whatever, right?
Yeah.
We all seek that companionship, and I think that's something that that story can be told any countless number of ways, and has been.
Yeah. It's man, it's an almost perfect episode. An almost perfect episode. So I've said it, you know, more than a few times. I mean, this is probably the only part of the episode I don't like is how it was forced, how the ending was forced.
Yeah.
It was the forced ending of, oh, we'll find someone else to restore peace to this war-torn planet.
Right.
It was forced that Cochrane, who was so desperate to continue exploring the planets, is now stuck. It's forced that that Hedford is basically dead.
Right.
Dead inside. You know, like Companion said, she was going to die anyway without me. You know, now she's stuck with me. Now she's a prisoner.
Right.
I feel like that was forced. And again, had this been maybe a modern Star Trek episode, the loss, Kirk's loss, right? I've said it before, Kirk lost. But if this were a modern episode, this loss for him would stick with him. He would know that in the future he can't just go for the attack, that he needs to think of a different way,
Right.
especially when dealing with a being of immense energy.
Right.
But I don't know. Those are the things for me that just kind of hold it back from being perfect. And again, this is just another sleeper for me of an episode. Like we've talked about this, you know, I think during the Moby Dick episode, right? Where this is an episode where people don't often talk about as being one of the greats. And I think this was just a really great episode. You know,
It's interesting. Yeah.
what was the episode in season 1 where it was rated like one of the top ones? It was the time travel episode.
City on the Edge of Forever.
Yeah, I like this episode more than City on the Edge of Forever.
That's fascinating. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. This is for me a better love story.
Okay.
You know,
Well, I
even
think
had a better ending.
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, it was it's a different approach, right? Because you already had this being that had been in love with Cochrane, and it just inhabited a new body. Whereas with City on the Edge Forever, we're to believe that Kirk falls in love with a woman that he just met and knows is going to die, and it's like this epic, you know, moment, like she's being like he's sweeping her off her feet and they were meant to be together, but no, he has to let her get hit by a car. It's her fate that would affect the rest of, you know, civilization, basically, you know, the whole butterfly effect thing. So, you know, I think, you know, there's some, if you're comparing it to City on the Edge Forever, like City kind of also asks you to be forgiving with the things that you're allowing to happen, you know, like just like the same thing with the communicators. Don't overthink it, just let it happen.
Right.
So
I tell my wife all the time.
yeah.
The reason I think City on the Edge of Forever is a good comparison is the theme of love. Right? Do you think that Kirk falling in love with this woman, you know, and love at first sight essentially,
Right,
is more believable than Cochrane falling in love? Or Cochrane and companion having this relationship until they both die?
I mean, 150 years is a long time.
150 years is a long time when you consider that the relationship was unrequited love.
Right.
Companion loved Cochrane. Cochrane did not love Companion.
I feel like there's some kind of meme potential in that statement.
I only wanted to use the word unrequited love because I've heard it used before.
Companion loved Cochrane. Cochrane didn't love Companion.
I'm gonna let you workshop that.
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
As you workshop. So I've kind of hinted at my rating for the episode, right?
Much higher than I was expecting from you. Yeah.
Really? What do you think I would have rated this episode?
I mean, I don't know. Certainly not a 9, but I think that's where
I
you're
never
going.
said 9, but yeah, definitely a 9. Definitely a 9. There, I think the reason why I've rated this episode so high in terms of love is my wife, man. She keeps putting on these sappy ass Hallmark movies and these Lifetime movies, and it's all about love at first sight, you know. And this is like love in the time of Star Trek, you know. This is what that is,
Right.
So yeah, no, definitely a 9 out of 10 for me.
Really?
And it would have been a perfect 10 had those gripes I had regarding the ending being forced and these choices being forced. Then
Yeah.
It would have been fine.
You were looking for a happy ending full of choices.
No, I was looking for them to ride off into the sunset. Not necessarily happy, but knowing that they're both going to die eventually, but dying together.
Right.
Doing the thing that they love, not just being stuck somewhere.
Right.
They're essentially almost in the same place they were when they got to start the episode.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of Stockholm syndrome on Cochrane's part.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that. You know, you're in prison with somebody for 150 years. Eventually you fall in love with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Just like our wives.
Yeah.
They have no choice. They're stuck with us.
They certainly
They're stuck
are.
with us.
Yeah. Oh, that's not going to get anybody canceled on this show.
I think that if I didn't get canceled for my first 2 comments, I think I'm pretty safe on my third. So
I'm not in charge of the canceling. That's all I'm going to say.
it's fine. It's fine. There's a 24-hour news cycle, so I think that 24 hours being canceled is fine in the end.
Fair.
So I've talked a lot about how much I love the episode, and I don't really kind of get any strong feelings one way or the other from you about the episode.
Yeah.
So if we are moving on to review, if there's no other gripes you had that you wanted to get out on the table,
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to you rating the episode, I think that this is just an episode for you, that this is just a filler for you.
Yeah.
Of Star Trek.
Yeah.
So
that's accurate.
So that being said, you're gonna give it more of a meh score. Not a 5, you wouldn't go that low. So maybe about a 6, 6.5, 7 around there.
I was thinking
Say
7.
6.
I was thinking 7.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I think it does what it's doing well, right? To fall on my usual metrics, this would be an episode that I would leave on, but not put on. It was inoffensive. I enjoyed it.
Inoffensive.
Well, I mean, there have been episodes that have offended me. We've had our Drew rants in the past.
I love my Drew rants, and I hope with the next one we get another Drew rant.
It's been a while. It
has been a while.
But yeah, like there's nothing wrong with this episode that would really make it or break it for me, right? I do think that Hedford was a little bit two-dimensional in the beginning of the episode. And I'm not really crazy about the women writing that they gave her. But that being said, I like the idea of encountering such a historical figure and giving a little bit of backstory to, well, what happens to him, rather, helps kind of draw, fill in the lines a little bit more than what I had expected to see. The cloud, whatever. Just it's fine. It's fine. There's nothing great about this episode. There's nothing bad about it. It exists, and I've watched it, and it wasn't bad. It was somewhat enjoyable.
Okay.
So
about a 7 out of 10. That's not bad.
And I feel like a 7 is being generous, except for the fact that it didn't bore me, right? Like it was just there. So yeah, that's what I got.
That's more than fair. I get it. What do we got next week? Or whenever we're able to get up together again.
Yeah, it might be a little while because I know you've got some family stuff coming up, and
I do. So while you're looking that up for the listener, my wife is Haitian, and there's been a lot going on in that country, but her family, her mother and her brother have the opportunity to finally come up and, get their lives in a better place and get to be a little more safe. And the only problem is Haiti's main airport in Port-au-Prince was closed from February 25th, and they just recently opened it. So we got tickets through JetBlue Saturday. I've been on Flight Tracker. I have Google Alerts set up for news, just ensuring that nothing happens, because you want to be able to act quickly.
Right.
Long story short, the flight is scheduled, the flight is ticketed, and it's going to be a really happy day for my wife. And a lot of the busyness around here for me has just been ensuring that they're comfortable.
Right.
And she has as little stress as possible, because this is a big moment for her.
Right.
She hasn't seen her mom in 6 years, man.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Like, her father's up here, but her mom being down there, it's
right.
It's sad. So I try to do the good husband thing, and I try to get everything ready here. So I think we're good to go. Saturday's going to be very busy.
Yeah. How many people are coming up?
5.
Wow.
So her mother,
Yep.
her brother, her sister-in-law, and then 2 kids.
Wow.
So then they go up to Vermont, and I make the joke all I make the joke all the time, like, "Oh, you're taking your family from their country and then putting them to work on a farm. That's irony's lost on you, isn't
Oh.
it? Doesn't work well."
Oh my god.
Um,
Well,
she
they're
never
going to be
gets
going
it.
from a tropical island to like a place that gets like 6 feet of snow in one storm.
Yeah,
That's going to be a hell of a culture shock.
yeah. So this part of Vermont is what 30 minutes away from Lake George. So
Oh, that's beautiful up there.
I've never been. So
Dude.
our anniversary is in 15 days. So it's June 5th right now. It's in
Yeah.
15 days. And I'm going to try to plan a trip to Lake George. So hopefully I can take Kylo with me.
I
'cause
can
I'm the kind of-
can give you some recommendations if you'd like. Cuz
they have to be dog friendly because I want to take Kylo and I'm up early in the morning to go exercise and
Yeah.
she's not. So me
Well,
and the dog just hang out.
there's so many different places to go hiking. My wife and I have visited that area a couple times. And there's so much to do in and around Lake George. It's beautiful up there. It really is.
All right. So I'll have my camera, my tripod. I'll maybe take my drone.
There you go.
Did you know I have a drone?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Wait, no.
Okay.
No, I do not.
I had a drone for a year. Another thing that I just been too busy to use.
Well, if you need somebody to help you use it, let me know.
I do. Hey, let's try to go kayaking together too. I really want to get that going at some point.
I'm down for that. Although I have kind of a history with kayaks.
I would dive in to save you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. I wouldn't dive in to save Brad.
You know what it was, man? It was I think it was my weight. I think that had a lot to do with it because I think
Oh man, you look great.
well,
You look fantastic.
I wasn't fishing for compliments, but thank you.
No, I tell you this all the time. You sent a picture of you doing the yard work in I think that was your father in the picture. And your back. I can't get over how muscular your back looks.
Yeah.
That is day laborer back. It looks great. I love it. And I'm a little jealous. I'm a little jealous of how good your back looks.
Well, I mean, you stopped mowing your lawn, so
Fair. That's fair. I still have other projects though.
Let's talk about the
still
next
need a shovel.
episode. The Deadly Years. The Enterprise discovers a colony full of rapidly aging scientists. Whatever caused the rapid aging of the scientists soon affects the ship's landing party as well. Kirk, Spock, and McCoy and Scotty are shocked to discover that they are aging decades each day and will soon die unless a cure for their condition can be found. Meanwhile, the unaffected Chekhov may be their only hope for survival. This sounds very similar to an episode of The Next Generation, which I am absolutely floored that I'm not seeing referenced in the Memory Alpha article. What the hell was the name of the episode?
I am confused. I thought our next episode was Journey to Babel.
Did I go to the wrong one? I must have gone to the wrong one.
Yeah, I thought we had Journey to Babel and then Friday's Child.
I
And
clicked the wrong link.
Oof, leave that in. Don't you dare edit that.
Journey to Babel as the Enterprise comes under attack. See, this is what I'm talking about with Memory Alpha. Like, they have all these different episode orders, right? So I clicked on the one that was the next release for the remastered, not for the original. So anyway, sorry about that. As the Enterprise comes under attack on the way to a diplomatic conference on Babel, one of the alien dignitaries is murdered, and Spock's estranged father, Sarek, is the prime suspect. But he is also deathly ill, and only Spock can save him. Okay. Wow. I'm looking forward to seeing Sarek. That's going to be fun. He is a semi-regular appearance in Star Trek throughout multiple series. We've already seen this actor in Balance of Terror. He played the Romulan commander. So seeing him play a Vulcan, which is almost exactly identical to the Romulans, just, more logical, will be fun.
I'm excited.
Yeah. I don't know anything about this episode. I am looking forward to seeing it, but, yeah. Looks like we got some very popular, alien species, including Tellarites and Andorians in this one.
Speaking of alien species, I get to have some fun with the tribbles this season. And I'm excited for tribbles because they look adorable.
You need to calm down.
Okay. All right. Hey, this has been great. I love catching up with you.
Always, man.
Until next time, I want to hear people's thoughts on this seemingly messed up love story that took place in Metamorphosis. So, yell at us on Twitter, yell at us on Instagram, threads, our YouTube comments. I want to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, it's been a while since you and I have had such vastly different opinions on an episode, so.
Yeah, I think being a father and a husband has ruined me. But that's another episode for another time.
Yeah.
Bye, Drew. Bye, everyone.
Later, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of yet another Star Trek podcast. We're part of the Retro Sessions Network. This episode was recorded on June 5th, 2024. It's hosted by Drew and Majid. I almost said Brad. Old habits die hard, I guess. We'd like to thank William Grobelar for writing the original music to the show, including the songs Warp Speed and To the Stars. Check out his music on SoundCloud. There's a link in the show notes. You can also check out George Ratau, who drew us like Lower Decks characters. We have a link to his Fiverr in our show notes as well. We'd also like you to check out all of the friends of the pod. They are so kind to contribute ads and sponsorship to our show. Take a look at our show notes, and you can check out some wonderful podcasts. Also in the show notes, boy, there's a lot in the show notes this week. Also in the show notes, our social media, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. It's not X, it's Twitter. Anyway, we'd love to have you follow us on social media. And of course, swing up by our Discord room, say hello. Send us pictures of your cats, your dogs, your fish, raccoons, whatever you got. And let's talk Star Trek. Thanks for listening, folks. We'll see you next time.